can we listen to her so she can get this on
Yeah,
recording?
Yeah, I'm just
'Cause I think we're
wondering,
gonna-
y'all have the discretion to do what, I mean, to make a decision on this. You don't have, regardless what the city attorney, so y'all are talking about, but y'all have, you approved at CBD with the concession or the condition that it had to be approved, the final plans by y'all. So,
Right, here it is on the zoning.
right,
Minutes.
right.
And the
So-
plans
so
were,
it
and
does-
the
it
plans
can
were
be-
submitted
it
tonight.
can
This
be
is the
whatever
first time we've seen
moratorium-
it.
If y'all decide 35 feet, then that's what it can be. It doesn't say your condition was not anything other than it had to be approved by the
I
council.
don't disagree with that,
That
yeah.
makes
And the plans were resubmitted tonight, is the first time we've seen them, so.
Well, so, just to
I mean-
address that.
Well, I think honestly, in light of the fact that we just received these tonight, we have a lot, we need to look over our timelines and maybe consult another attorney. You know, my idea is, I think this definitely needs to be tabled. No decision needs to be made on
Well,
this.
here's just the one thing I would point out. So, you're talking about hiring somebody to conduct a review of this. First, let me just go ahead and clear this air. You will never hear me say, you can't stop us because your city attorney said something as an opinion. I accept full well, the governing body is this body, 100%. You're never gonna hear me say it. Now, if it goes to court, am I absolutely going to ask him to reaffirm what he said? 100%. But it'll be up for a court at that point to determine whether we had detrimental reliance. I will say the language of the granting of our rezoning application does not make the granting of that rezoning application premised on final site plans. That reads that we were granted CBD approval. That's done. And now, as part of the development process, we are required, which we are doing now, to come back with a final site plan. And that is the final leg of approval.
And in the
You can absolutely reject it for failure to comply with whatever you want to say it is failing to comply, and we will attempt to address it. And so I just want to make sure that what we're not doing is pushing this thing off so that we can get somebody to come in and opine on the likelihood of success on the detrimental reliance part in the zoning. If that's where we are, then I think we just move forward and go get a declaratory judgment, one way or the other, however it may pass, it is what it is. Chips
That
may fall
might
wherever
be
they
the
will.
best way to handle it.
Yeah, but if it's something to do with getting the actual final site plan, you want to take a second, you want to take some time to look at the survey, you want to take some time to look at the actual state site plan, which is the two things required for the final site plan, then, take all the time, well, actually not all the time, but, if there's a reason for that, but the documents are pretty clear. Everything in the survey and the state site plan establishes that we've complied with every single ordinance that we're required to comply with.
So let me ask you, if you knew that you were to come back and bring the plans for final approval to the council, why would you submit us or give us the plans and not, you're asking for approval at the meeting and not ahead of time?
We submitted it. Yeah, we submitted it to Jeff Stewart.
I didn't get them.
Last week.
This is right now, the first time I've saw them, so that's a great question.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, 2/3 round ago.
Again, this is the first time we've done them.
Again, I think the problem is, again, the moratorium, the change of ordinance, the
communication.
fact that you guys rezoned the CBD, you then spent money after the fact, after the moratorium, to actually close on the property after the moratorium was in place, and then the actual rezoning took place after that. And, I mean, you had to logically know that it was going to change. And I think there's just a chain of events that don't make sense, and it might be best for a judge to decide.
Yes, but there is no way that we had to know it was going to change. I mean,
But you had
Georgia
to
law is
logically.
unequivocally clear, and when you go a full year in the development process under a zoning ordinance, only to be told that now it's been limited to 35 feet.
But you knew in that whole time period, and then you should have kind of thought about that when you were advertising it, when you were, because you knew this. And to me, that shows that you were being irresponsible as a developer and moving forward with spending money on something that, because I asked for a rezoning on some property for affordable housing, and I certainly did not move forward with any plans prior to that, nor afterwards, and, you know,
And I feel like you were misled, and I would absolutely be upset, and I would hold those legally liable.
I know, I mean, we were
Misled
misled,
you, is
James
what I would
was
do.
correct, but.
These are very right, and that's been confirmed by other attorneys as well. However, these plans, just so you guys understand, this is a very expensive set of plans. We came to the city council asking for permission for 60 units originally at 60-foot height. Once we had that, we began marketing to test the demand in the market to make sure that we could actually sell the units. Once we recognized there was demand and we had the preliminary approval, then we spent over $300,000 on these plans. We're not gonna spend $300,000 out of pocket until we know that we have a project. All the timelines, you know, the moratorium was not in place when we closed. It certainly was not mentioned when we got preliminary approval. All this is coming to play after the fact. So that is why you're just not seeing them. We submitted them last week to the city, and that's why you're just not seeing them tonight, because we just got them. It takes time to put these together.
After all that was in place.
so.
No,
So-
they didn't.
They had
He's
zoning.
just zoning.
The zoning, the initial application that was filed and the initial unanimous.
No.
You said that
Preliminary
you
approval.
had preliminary approval to build a 60-foot.
Correct. That was an incorrect statement he just made. That is not true.
No.
Yeah, that's an incorrect statement. That was
We've
not true.
never
He
heard
misspoke.
No, we didn't. We had approval to build according to the.
You had
city's
approval for the
ordinance.
zoning, not for the building. Just to be clear.
And the zoning allowed the 60 foot of that.
Well, but not with.
So one of the other things that I would like to go ahead and bring up, which is always the thing that I'm always worried about, is water and sewer. And I know that you filed your application. There's not an issue with water and sewer, but Becky Harkins handles a lot of that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to get her to come up for just a second. So,
Absolutely.
because there's rumors that infrastructure won't handle it and all that, so that we can stop or squish that rumor.
We've already had meetings on this and town hall meetings in the past. I mean,
I think that later,
There's something in your packet about that too.
that's what it is.
No,
Affordable
it
housing,
was
we
specifically
did not
on
have.
yeah,
this
you spoke
property.
at affordable
Yeah.
housing meeting and said we didn't have, that we weren't about
That's why you
capacity.
voted-
That's why
wasn't-
you voted no. That was
it-
your reason
it
for
was-
voting no.
Ah, boom.
Public
It was
record.
on this property because they said it would blow out the new
Yep, it's
line.
public record. We know
right
what it
there.
was.
I issued a capacity letter last week to the development. The city has the ability to serve that required gallons per minute to this development with water and sewer. That is not a final approval. That is just saying we have the capacity to serve them. They have 180 days to come back to us with their utility plans and pay their fees. So that
We all knew that.
that
This is
capacity
not new
is-
news. We've known that.
Right, so it's a letter of serviceability. We have the ability to service you, but they have not formally applied and submitted all their plans and paid their fees. So they're not 100% ready to go, but we do have the capacity to serve that development.
Okay, thank you. And the sewer line and the water line there, it's definitely 6-inch and,
Yep, we've done a flow test.
But they didn't have it for
and
yours,
that's
Ms. Hayes. For
everything
your
back
rezoning,
to
it was
there,
not
and
capacity, just so you know.
Right.
Right here, according to this, shows 48 condos, 4 floors, 12 condos per floor.
What are you reading from, Mike?
Those are the plans that were submitted along with the
That's what the
rezoning
planning
application.
and zoning approved, and that's what the city council.
No, Mike, they didn't approve the
We
building,
did
they
not
approved the
approve that.
zoning.
Approved the
You're
zoning.
speaking for the city zoning board, and there's represent, that is not what they approved.
Yeah, they approved the zoning,
The zoning is
Just
what
like
they approved,
Gallup.
but not that.
not the building.
The zoning
Zoning,
changed.
yes.
The moratorium went into place.
See, that map's not part of the application.
when the planning and zoning board heard this, did they have a drawing as well as the one that the city council had?
Yes, and I believe the minutes from the meeting actually has the letter from planning and zoning talking about what they reviewed, what was submitted to them, and their suggestion for approval.
I think I'm the only person that didn't have a sketch, because I was nice and gave it to Molly the night of the meeting, so it wasn't in my packet, but I didn't get one.
Yes,
Okay.
and those, again, those plans, while they were a hand sketch, are not.
But, you know, I would like to add to what you're saying. They did submit that during the city council, and that is in the city council minutes. However, as we know from the Hastings development, things change. And they always said, you know, the plans that are submitted during either planning or city council approval of a rezoning category is a category only. So we're not supposed to assume that those plans are the final ones. I understand, but that is a valid argument that people
Right,
have.
but now you can see that they are going to be the final plans.
I just wish those plans had been shared, you know, even the attorney information. If it had been shared, you probably would have a totally different perspective from your citizens. And that's not
If
your
I had
fault.
control over,
I know, and that's why I
actions,
apologize.
I'm a big fan of not having what all of this has become.
So am
There's a
I.
way that things should be done, this was not it.
Absolutely correct.
So to that extent, we apologize for all of that. Obviously, we have no control over
No.
anything that happens in this city. We can only control our own actions. But yeah, what we presented on that day for the rezoning has not changed, continues not to change. The plans and schematics that have been submitted along with the site plan, and just to be clear there, we provided Mr. Stewart, and I'm happy to provide anybody else that wants it, the plans and schematics just to further solidify exactly what's going to happen, but that is not what is to be submitted for the final site plan. Here is simply the stamped survey and stamped stake site plan. So that's one of the reasons why I find it hard to believe that there's any need to table things to conduct a more in-depth review of a survey and a state site plan. Now, if it's to review whether you think you can prevail in court on a detrimental reliance claim, that's a whole other animal. And the quality of this project, the quality of the people behind the development, the fact that it is not supposed to be some way to gut this city or anything like that. I'm even a litigator, and I do not want to see this thing end up in court. It's just not one of those issues that needs to go to court. Like, I understand that there's an issue on the buildings that are coming in, the lack of parking, the lack of affordable housing, which, by the way, Wham Development is 100% committed to improving affordable housing in this community once this project is in place. One of the members lives here. They are invested in Blue Ridge and the city. It does not simply
Who is
come
one of
in.
the members?
Who is that member?
Angie
Angie who?
Who?
Smith?
Angie Smith?
Don't never heard of her. She's a citizen of Blue Ridge? Oh, didn't know that.
The
She's
people-
mentioned on their website.
Yeah, we have not hit any names. But the people behind this are invested in this city. And this is just, this is a product of horrible circumstance. And I just hope that we don't have to go that route. It's just not worth taxpayer money. I don't want to see myself involved in it. Despite the fact that I get paid for it, I hate it. So that's all I can say. I mean, the city council, like I said, you're never going to hear me say that because the city attorney said something that you now owe us something. It's up to you all to decide. But I do believe that my client is one of the developers that I've ever experienced that if they say they're going to do something, they're going to do it, and you can trust them.
Point of information, he said 48 units and you said 60?
I said 54, 54, 50.
That was, but what you were,
Well, that was-
just asking a question. Now, how many 48
It
units?
said 12 units per floor, 4 floors.
Okay. 4 floors.
So the plan has changed since what was on, correct?
It's not the exact thing.
That's not the exact plan,
Correct.
Well, but the
because
minutes,
this one's 56 units,
the
correct?
minutes of that meeting say 60 units. So we told them up to 60 units.
So you had also mentioned that this is 45 feet, but only 55 feet. But what about the other level?
The below grade
Below
side.
grade.
Well, below ground is considered.
Yeah, this.
Yeah, I know,
She's
but-
asking what's the height of it
So
from the
what-
actual ground point to
Yeah,
the
'cause I
very top,
think-
because y'all are only speaking from the ground level up.
And from what my understanding is of our height.
We're speaking from the half, since it's a sloped grade, our understanding of the law is that you take the midpoint of the sloped grade, and it's from that point up.
So what would that height be from
And
there?
how could you,
That's what we're.
how would you present that if you didn't have
From
renderings
this-
to render? How would you be able to determine that if you didn't have engineering renderings to submit it?
I mean, at this point, does it matter?
Well, it does matter, because the
Well,
height
this will be
restriction went in
there.
place, the whole moratorium was over
Okay.
height restriction.
Yeah, that
That's the whole
looks a
key
little-
point. Why wouldn't it be important?
It's confusing.
Yeah,
Actually,
Yeah.
Because,
Did you just ask me that, really?
yeah,
no, I
that
didn't.
definitely will be a question.
I mean, do we need to bicker like this?
I
Because.
don't need that, I'm just, we're
Yeah,
asking
you
you a question,
do.
then answer the question. Answer the question she had. What is the height of it from the midpoint then? How many feet?
It is exactly what we reported here today, 45 to the top of the actual units, another 55 for the gable roof.
So he's saying
I
from
mean,
this
sorry, not another
midpoint.
55, another 10 for the gable
He's
roof.
saying from this midpoint.
He's telling, and then he told me that it's going to be this.
Those are retaining walls that are down below.
It will be
And that's not noted on the plans?
It's not noted on that one elevation, it is on the plan.
It
The
is
one
on
that
the, it is
submitted
on
to
the
us
survey,
was not noted on?
it is on the survey and the state site plan.
It's below
I'll
grade.
look at it.
Per code, everything that's below grade is considered basement or retaining wall, so it's not actually the height.
I have a question. Has there been any type of traffic study done?
We've not done a traffic study.
Not a traffic study, but one of the key issues that was presented to us that we did make sure to address was the parking. There is full capacity parking for every resident of this place.
That's 2 spaces.
They will not be taking up any of the, that's my understanding, is that there's a public parking issue, but
I think it's not the traffic, it's not the parking, it's the traffic. We have sat in gridlock several times lately, especially on weekends, I'm a citizen of downtown. That's a problem. When you think about, 60 units, then you have it.
Hey, the site plan you gave me does not have that on there. Can I have a copy of the site plan that does have it on there?
what's that?
About the retaining walls and the height, you said it was on the site plan, but it's not.
I didn't say it's on the site plan, I said it's on the final set of plans.
Can we get the final set of plans then?
Well, no, we didn't bring it because they're not required for this approval.
What?
But I mean, yes, no,
I'm talking about an engineered set of drawings. Engineering, zoning commission should not consider new engineering.
I want to see the retaining wall and the height. You're saying that's the way it was based on engineering. You said it was on the site plan. So you just gave us a site plan, but it's not on here. So I'd like to see the final site plan where it is on there.
it's not what we submitted. Again, I'm not quite following why we're still talking about building. Either the moratorium does or does not apply.
And that will be reviewed.
And that's what I feel needs to be looked at by a third party. Because I think the council, I personally feel that you should follow the 35 foot. I think Nathan feels okay. How do you feel, Robbie?
The Georgia Supreme Court disagrees.
Is that your opinion?
At least the two reported.
But that's your opinion. That's your opinion and you're representing.
That is my legal
That's your opinion based on representing your clients.
It's also
Just to be
Jamie Fowler's
clear.
opinion, representing.
He wasn't representing the council's opinion.
He didn't
Just to be clear.
He was
No,
representing the city.
he was representing the city, but he didn't go through it. That's a whole other legal issue with him.
Well,
And the mayor did know about the letter that went to him. Apparently, she is copied on the email.
Well, I'm going to make a motion that this is tabled and that we all have time to review, to consult legal, and that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, Robbie? Table or not?
Do you want to table it?
You want to table it or not?
Well, I mean, I have no problem tabling it, but I've read the law.
Okay, so yes.
I'm not into it.
So yes is the, your answer to the table?
I have no problem with tabling it
Okay. Harold?
till the December meeting. That'll give
Nathan?
everybody,
Yes.
that'll give
Yes.
everybody an opportunity to consult with their
Yes or
attorney.
no? No, so 4 yes, 1 no.
Are you ready to vote tonight?
No, I think we just, I think it's a big mess, and I'm afraid the city's gonna get sued on it,
They
that's
are.
what I'm saying.
Well, I think sometimes you have to stand up for what's right.
The city should have been sued under the Affordable Care Act.
Yes, thank you.
so for clarification, the December meeting, that will be at 5.
We actually have a public hearing on December
I
the
would prefer
6th.
to do it at a regular call meeting, that way we have time, ample time.
So you're totally right. He tabled
Any
his,
more questions
yeah.
from that
December
side?
the 6th is just around the corner, and with the holidays, I think you only need to get a, yes, I did not say December meeting.
Well, I don't know that everybody's in agreement, so do you want to do it December the 7th, or do you want to wait till the very end?
Are we doing this after we just voted on the motion?
You just table the motion.
I mean,
that's all it
table the
is.
motion, yeah.
You table the motion.
So, the meeting is.
Now, are we gonna put it on, so,
Well, we gotta know when we're showing up.
yeah.
The regular meeting is what I said, at the December meeting, I did not say a special
Wait
call.
just a moment, would everybody give us just 1 second, she has to change the date. So any conversation needs to stop.
And as I said, Mayor,
At
I
this
think,
point.
I think we need ample time to look at it, and with the holidays coming up, next week's going to be hard to get legal advice, even from our own city attorney, so I feel like we need a regular meeting. It's only another week and a half before you start.
Well, the rezoning for affordable was denied based on two people saying that they needed more time to investigate. I don't think the tabling, till the next meeting is unreasonable.
Oh, I don't either, especially considering we just got the plans tonight. So do you?
We will be here whenever we're told, so I just need to know what.
Has anybody said what there's a list of what everybody's going to review in this period of time so that it's
Can everybody wait just 1 second before we talk so that she can get this recorded so that there's not a question later? Okay, all right, Ms. Stevens, I'm sorry. Do you
So
wanna-
I just been sitting here, and I do live in the city, but just being fair, like, because I'm kind of flabbergasted the whole meeting. But they have everyone's saying they want to review stuff, which is great. But then what are they reviewing? Like, what is expected for them to
I would
provide?
expect the documents that they received tonight and any and all other documents, this is my
I
paperwork
got you.
just from this.
So that they know, and then we know, everybody knows
Yes, and
what someone's reviewing.
And I'm gonna suggest if we've got to have a third party review it, GERMA has pretty much this whole file because there's been so many emails back and forth that maybe we ask them to take a look at it and give us an opinion.
Yeah, and look, I don't want, if you retain separate legal counsel to give the city council advice on this, I don't want them to have to be guessing or speculating. I mean,
They've been involved all the way
have
through.
them call me. I'll try to
We
get them as
also
much
have
information as I have
We have
available.
another attorney that's Nathan's in here, so
Is
he's,
it the one that sent me emails, Nathan?
Yes, it is.
Former
Okay.
city attorney?
Yes, it is.
he would possibly be maybe our next city attorney.
Yes.
Interesting on Nathan Island, but anyway. I think we'd want a neutral party, so I think our insurance company would be as neutral as it gets.
They use the insurance.
Impact studies?
You can use who you want to, and we will use who we want to.
Impact studies?
Go ahead, say, what is
You
it?
can use-
So is Mr.
Impact
Stockton
studies.
representing you two in
He's not
this?
representing me.
Mr. Stockton does represent me, and you knew that.
He does not
Well,
Because
represent
you
me.
violated several, rights.
I'm sorry, but I think you're out of order completely.
Oh, that is?
So,
I'll make a recommendation as we.
see, I'm not sure that GERMA will, but I can ask since we're to this point.
I can already tell you, the attorney for Garland will not represent us.
They did not
He's
look
right.
at some other issues that we were,
Oh, we've already been in touch with them, they won't
the
look at it.
parking issues and things like that. So
We've already been in touch, we've already been in
This issue?
I think you called GMA attorneys.
No.
I don't think you called GERMA.
Okay, we
But,
didn't
but
reach out.
GERMA does have a complete file pretty much on this subject. Okay, thank y'all for your time, and will you make sure and leave your information with Joe, or do you already have that from Mr. Claus? You already have their information? All right,
Just, when is the survey?
December it's the third Tuesday,
Okay.
yeah. And it's at 5 p.m. Okay. Wow.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Good job.
December the 21st.
Impact studies.
Yes,
thank you.
raise your hand.
Update on
That's me.
Nathan, can we ask them to do some impact studies or something? They said there's nothing on traffic. They haven't done anything for traffic, but what about
They were
everything
asked
else?
as part of that to bring it back to the council meeting. I mean, if you want want to do some, I think that would be up to you, but I.
But wasn't that a
They weren't asked to up front.
Wait, Ms. Thompson, what is it?
I mean, wasn't that the whole thing, the 101 questions that Mr. Painter had about the affordable was the impact on every aspect
Oh,
of
yeah, that was
infrastructure?
what you deal with it. The mayor made a decision based upon those
Right.
facts. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's gonna impact traffic.
Yeah. She was concerned that.
And there's already nowhere for the food.
I have no problem,
There
I'm
was
just going off what the
170
planning and
units also
zoning
that
board,
had-
But
what
you
they
really,
approved, and
you
then
just
what
spoke
the
about 2
council
weeks before and said the opposite.
Read the minutes.
I do read the minutes, Mike, you should know that.
Okay, update on completion of downtown playground.
I'm gonna table that.
I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, I think a big part of this has been, there's a lot of miscommunication out there, and I think a lot of it may have even came from places it shouldn't have come from, because it was talked about and maybe misrepresented, so that is part of it. We're having to sort
I
out
agree
what's
completely.
correct.
You know, I will never begrudge anybody for wanting clarity of information, as long as they're being honest on the front end.
Yeah, well, what do you think? Okay, so you're not gonna discuss the, okay, downtown garbage.
Oh, yeah, so, I've had several of the businesses to reach out, and I've talked to you about it before, but the downtown garbage bins, they don't have room to put their garbage, and I just wanted to make a suggestion, maybe the next council can even, come up with some ideas, but maybe have a centralized garbage place that the businesses could dump stuff, and pay them up a fee or something. I mentioned it to the businesses that reached out to me, and they said they would be open to that. It's mainly the restaurants in downtown that have an issue with it, so maybe, well, maybe others too, but that's the only people that reach out to me, we're all restaurant owners.
But isn't that the responsibility of the landlord?
Well, it's responsibility of business owners, but the problem is a lot of these business owners, when they have their dumpster, it's so tight anyways. And the other thing is, I just said, when Angie and I was downtown not long ago, we were walking downtown, and you could see dumpsters as you went downtown. And I just don't think it's a bad idea just getting it, you know, I would be a fan of just getting it off the streets of downtown anyway.
And
That's my
with
personal.
the restaurants, we did change the ordinance and it's picked up the day it's supposed to be. So
Did you think that was?
it's,
I didn't think it was.
you see, and that's,
Restaurants,
yeah.
and the other thing is, garbage companies integrity
That may be part of the problem.
Yeah, we've had some issues with that, and I've actually spoken with Mr. Valley. We had a conference call, and with Jeff and Christina. It's a problem.
Is your bin,
And they'll pay monthly fee, and the city might make money on it.
is your container from Advanced? They're having trouble getting containers, I do know that.
Of course, now they're waste management, yeah.
Okay, so,
Well, that'd be a good thing for the new council to start looking at, yeah.
okay, do you have a motion to adjourn? Do
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a second? All in favor?
Hey, Christy, I have something for you before you leave.
That's how you hear people right there. No one can follow. You've already contacted well, there's several attorneys who represent.
That's so funny.
What?
It's so funny.
It's based on your recommendation. They knew that that was going to
I was gonna say,
I know that whole first talk about how this was up to everything.
Because with the new zoning we don't need to be charging each other.
Yeah.
It's a but I what's your name one more time?
Murray,
What's on Marie?
because I'm working on it.
I know. Based on everything I've read,
Did you ever see it?
boiling over for a while now.
It wasn't there. It was a,
You
well, what
know,
it was a jetted tub.
Oh,
Okay. And it was,
So, it is
when
what
it
it
touches
is.
the pipe.
Not for
Oh, wow.
dealt with heavy emotions. Wow. You know, unfortunately, heavy emotions usually are expensive. And that's,
And hey, with us being a big tourist destination, and keeping those events out tourists into this area, that might be a good idea to push.
No. But there were chicken coops under the crawl space and right outside of the house.
for our project.
Well, I haven't heard.
I said something back to myself, how do you feel about it? Like, if you tell me what it is, yeah, there's a
No, there's a thing you can shake or
So like all the stuff that you're saying, like, he's like to speak for us, like, did you speak to the city council when you told us that we were interviewing with the elections? But it's, you know, it's not, judging by the fact that he's the one candidate who was anti-new development. That's all right. Understand what happened.
stop it. That is a mess.
He was elected.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know how many people have stopped, including his,
His very next election.
granddaughter, niece, whatever, and then her mom. Different people stopped, they're like, do you care? And I was like, no, here's the code, go ahead. But, I mean, I have cameras in here. Yeah, but no, you can go ahead, go inside. It's, yeah. So that was the only thing my son asked me.
He just didn't.
Stay on Peachtree, in the house, you go to private school, or you gotta go somewhere else. Make the calls fast. Yeah, so, do you remember 2000? Remember when David's going? I feel for you. You were on sorry, hey.
Second of all, my opinion, and I will advise the council of this. This is what I believe your rights is. And you agree with our perspective. Yeah.
You know where it is? It's behind, it's behind. Just sit.